Looking for top quality and yet affordable cricket equipment? Look no further than Duck and Run Cricket. Duck and Run is operated by cricketers for cricketers. We cover all levels of the sport, and we're happy to give honest advice regarding our products to every customer. We have a great selection of top quality bats, pads, gloves, protection and wicket-keeping equipment. In addition, a range of bags and clothing complement our equipment perfectly. Visit us now at www.duckandruncricket.co.uk.
Hi and welcome to Shakey's Sports Journeys. Appreciate you joining us again. I just want to mention that this episode is sponsored by Duck and Run Cricket. You can find them on all social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, etc. And please do subscribe to the channel Shaky Sports Journeys on YouTube. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes and Apple as well. Thanks for that. Today's guest, prolific left-handed classical batsman, I would like to call him. Played in all formats for South Africa. Really top player. Mr. JP Duminy, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you. Big shout out as well to Shane Berger, current Scotland coach, who kindly put me in touch with you, Mr. Duminy. Are we in safe hands in Scotland?
Say again?
Are we in safe hands with Shane in Scotland?
It's a tough one to say, eh? I'm not sure.
No,
I think you certainly are. You definitely are. He's a good man, a great coach. I've gotten to rub shoulders with him over the last 2 years in a bit of a business venture that we explored, but got to know him more importantly, and that was the standout. And he's a man full of integrity, and he's got the right ambitions in terms of a coach, in my view at least. So I'm sure there's going to be some great success with Scotland.
Yeah, no, listen, so far so good. Comes across like a great guy, very engaging. So long may it continue. Wish him all the best. So normally what I do, JP, is I normally take my guests all the way back to the start of life. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip some of that, because I actually met you at a stage of life. I'm sure you won't remember me. It was many years ago, and you've met many people since then. But I remember it very well. I was over.
If you had that Scottish accent, then I'm pretty sure I would remember you. So I'm not sure.
Well, put it this way: they all thought I was a Cape coloured in Cape Town until I spoke. Everyone was like, "Oh," they would take a second look at me like, "Where the hell is this guy from?" So I was over there with the current Scotland captain, Kyle Coetzer. We were both playing for Cape Town Cricket Club. And also part of the Western Province Academy. So on that team, you had the likes of Fudgy, Farhan Bahardeen.
Yes.
Ahmed Majid was our captain. And then you had crazy guys like Mario Olivier. Don't know if you remember Mario, the fast bowler.
Yeah, I remember Mario. Yeah, I remember.
Character. Now, we got to come and do some bowling in the Newlands nets from time to time, which was like a dream come true, because just to give some context to this, the nets were filled by the likes of Jack Callis, Ashwell Prince, Herschel Gibbs, Graham Smith. I remember a guy called Puttick as well, who was in amongst that batting lineup.
Andrew Puttick, yeah.
But the one day I remember well is you were padding up, about to go in for a net, and there was this buzz around you. All the academy boys were chatting about you. They were like, "This guy, he's going to be he's the next big thing." I could see there was a nice camaraderie between you and the senior players as well. Before we go into it and ask you about that time of life, I do need to refresh your memory. I was bowling little left arm outswingers at about 73 miles per hour, I reckon. And I happened to get your good self and Ashwell Prince out. Ashwell Prince went nuts. He was like, "This wicket is terrible. This is not good for practice." But I had to get that in there. But for you, around that time of life, mate, what a time of life to be coming in to rub shoulders with all those guys.
It certainly was. And, it was an ebb and flow in terms of the experience. I'll tell you why, because I was obviously still under 19 at that time. And I had my ambitions set on making the under 19 World Cup team. And in 2001, that was the year that was a World Cup year. And obviously it's the previous year really that sort of the performances that you put in the year 2000 is what warrants you a spot in the 2001 under 19 World Cup team. and I just had the most horrific year. Like I just couldn't get the ball off the square. I think the under 19 week, the provincial week that we played in, I think highest score was about 25. And unfortunately, because of that dreadful year, I didn't make the World Cup team. And I was playing really well up until that point, but unfortunately, it just didn't go my way. But why I say it was an ebb and flow is the time when the under 19 World Cup team was in New Zealand, because that's where it was. It was around February in 2001. And Australia then toured South Africa, the main team, and obviously they were gearing up to play against South Africa in a Test series, and quite a few of the provincial guys got picked for the South African A side. That was then going to be the sort of warm-up game for Australia to play in the Test series eventually. And because of that selection, there was about 4 players in the Western Province side that made that South African A side, which then opened up opportunities for other players. And that's actually how I made my debut. So yeah, that's the ebb and flow of it. And I ended up playing actually my debut for Western Province senior team with my heroes. Gary Kirsten ended up playing, Herschel Gibbs ended up playing, as well as Jacques Cullis. And yeah, I was, as a young 17-year-old, making my debut for Western Province with the legends of South African cricket. And I'll tell you a funny story there. So because they were coming, the South African team came back from a tour somewhere, I'm not sure where they were. And they did not practice with us leading up to that game because they came in from tour. So all they did pretty much was just arrive the start of the game and just fill in. And Peter Kirsten was the coach, which is Gary Kirsten's brother, elder brother. And because I was obviously 17, I was very shy around these guys, and nobody introduced me to them. So I had not met, I'd met Herschel Gibbs before, but I had not met Gary Kirsten, Jacques Cullis. And, I was just kind of sitting in my own corner, not minding my own business. And we ended up winning the toss. We batted first. And this is the entire day one went past, right? And still, I had not spoken to them a word, even though we warmed up together, we're in the same team room, no words being spoken. The next day, day 2, I come out to bat at number 6. Gary Kirsten is on 200 not out. And I walk out to bat, and he then looks up at the scoreboard and he sees Duminy. He then has to ask the on-field umpire to radio to the third umpire to ask what my name was. So that was the very first time that we met. We met in the middle. It was, hey, Gary, hi, JP, nice to meet you. That was on day 2 of the game. Wow. It is interesting, like myself and Gary, we're extremely close now. But often when we together in social circles, we share that story as a funny story. So that was my first time of meeting some of the greats of South African cricket.
Great story. And obviously great that your friendship went on from there. You didn't upset him or run him out or anything like that. So it was all good.
No, I didn't last very long. I only scored about 18. He ended up about 240. So I didn't stay long enough to upset anyone.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. And your relationship has blossomed since then. You did very, very well in domestic cricket to start with. You had 2 really, really powerful years. Did you just take, what was the secret to that? Was it a matter of learning from the guys that you were around, and you yourself personally? Did you just take to that level comfortably? Because sometimes players don't always transition that well from under 19 cricket into senior cricket.
Yeah, I guess I was just very fortunate to transition really well. Had good people around me, no doubt, some good coaches. And I think about, the players that I played with. And that time in domestic cricket, Western Province particularly was one of the stronger franchise sides or provincial sides back then, and had some outstanding players. Neil Johnson, H.D. Ackerman, Ashwell Prince. Ashwell was probably a pivotal player in my career as a youngster coming in. We played for the same cricket club, local cricket club back home. And he pretty much took me under his wing to make sure that I was keeping in line with what was needed. But all of those guys played a pivotal role. And I just, as a youngster, fitted in really well, where you had all these senior guys performing at the top of their game, and you just had the freedom to go out and express yourself. There wasn't a massive expectation that, you needed to be the man to score the runs or to be the match winner. And even though, fortunately, those moments happened, I just had this unique ability to come in and just feel free to go out and express myself, which was great. And, those are the type of environments you want to grow and learn your game, is around guys that really understand who they are as players, a great culture, a great history of great players coming through Western Province. And it was a real privilege to be able to be part of that, So yeah, I was surrounded by great people, which really helped.
So as I said, you did very well in your early domestic career, which seen you get a call up to the ODI team in 2004, where you played against Sri Lanka. What a proud moment for you, your family. Were you expecting the call? Was it on the horizon?
I must be honest, I don't think it was. There was a few murmurs about the possibility of it, but as a 20-year-old, you don't think that that's going to happen, really. And when I got the call from the convener of selectors, which was Omar Henry at the time, I remember it fondly.
We love Omar over here. We love Omar.
I believe so, yes. And he gave me a call to tell me the news, and I remember it that day, man. I was sitting in the lounge of our house, feeling like almost in a bubble, like this disbelief of this can't be true, really, at age 20. And obviously then, shared in that moment with my family and friends, and we celebrated and enjoyed the whole experience, which was great. And eventually then ended up in the national team. But that experience in itself, on a personal level and cricketing experience, wasn't my best. I must be honest, and it was largely because of myself. It wasn't the environment necessarily. It wasn't the people I was around. It was just the fact that I had not understood how what a big jump it was from provincial level to international level. And I was naturally a very talented player, gifted player, but one thing that wasn't natural was hard work. And I sort of relied on that natural talent more than actually understanding at that level you need to marry the two. And I got found out. I wasn't up to standard in terms of international cricket now, up to standard in terms of the fitness levels and just the basic understanding of what is needed at that level. So I found myself in a space where it wasn't enjoyable because, one, I didn't score any runs. Two, I could see that, the standard was so much higher than what I thought it would be, that I needed to see a mental shift. And like I said, the experience wasn't great in that the team didn't do very well, but also personally, I didn't do very well. So literally one tour then got left out for about 2.5 years. But in that 2.5 year period, I realized that, or there was a stage actually where I thought to myself, I don't want to play cricket anymore because of that experience. But then I realized, it's not just about me giving up here. I'm needing to understand that in itself, the fact that I got picked so early was actually a gift. And the reason I say that was a gift, I got a glimpse of what it was like to play in that environment and what the expectations and standards were. And if I wanted to get back there, I needed to change certain habits. I needed to change my mindset. So in that 2.5 year period, it was a time of real soul searching, a time of real introspection in, right, who am I as a player? Who am I as a person? And do I really have the grit and the determination to get back there? And that was hard because, the very next year after that year of getting selected, I then went to the National Academy. And I remember fondly the question was asked, what do I want to achieve out of the academy? And my answer was, I want to find the love for the game again. Because that whole experience was one where I lost the love. I lost the reason why I started playing. And I wasn't enjoying it. So that was a great experience of 4 months where having great conversations with good people, training a lot harder, training differently. And that was sort of the upward curve to get back to the national team. And then I made the ODI team again, sort of late 2006. And that's where things got, a little bit better because I understood it now. And there was a greater understanding of what needed to happen to sustain a career there. So then 2007 came, played a few more games for South Africa, and then it led into 2008, which was probably the turning moment in my international career, which was then the test opportunity against Australia late 2008.
Yeah, at the WACA.
Yeah. So that was probably a pivotal moment in my career where it was kind of like your arrival on the global stage, and that was real turnaround. Yeah.
It was indeed very interesting to hear more about the backstory. Sorry, JP, I'm just going to close this window. Very interesting to hear about the backstory because I didn't know that you'd faced, adversity in your early international career, and could have gone either way. There's probably a lot of players like you, similar to you, that may have slipped away from the game around that point. But you have got us to a great point. 2008. I remember this series very well because this was like a heavyweight boxing contest. South Africa going to Australia not being beaten for 16 years on home turf. But if anybody can beat them right now, the South Africans have got a chance. They've got a strong bowling attack. Dale Steyn was right in his peak. And then there's two fresh-faced youngsters coming into the test match. Two guys that have gone on to do fantastically well. Yourself and Mr. AB de Villiers. He's not a bad player. You guys were actually, I remember watching it live. You saved the first test with 100 partnership. You got 50. I imagine AB was 50 plus as well.
Yeah, you got 100.
You got 100. There you go. You were up against the greats, but there seemed at the end to be quite a bit of respect because I'd imagine they would have came hard at you that day, the Aussies. I mean, I think some of the words, etc., exchanged on that pitch wouldn't have been the most friendly. Yeah. But you boys fought hard. But take me back to that moment and what was going through your head when you're at the wicket. You sound like you were a lot maturer as a batsman and as a cricketer at this point.
Yeah, I have to almost go back a little bit to the context of the test side. So that earlier that year, we had also beaten England in England, which I didn't play. I was part of the 12-man squad, but I had traveled with the test side for about 12 months. Not getting an opportunity to play, rightly so, because the side was performing so well. They had beaten Pakistan in Pakistan a few months before that for the first time in Test cricket, and then went to England and beat England in England. And now the great opportunity to go and play against Australia in Australia. And I was also not meant to play in that first test. And it was actually just the day before the start of the first test where Ashwell Prince got hit on his thumb in the nets. And I remember fondly, I was catching balls in the middle for Paul Harris, who was our left-arm spinner. And generally what happens the day before the test match, the guys that are going to play, who's going to play, they get sort of first preference in terms of their preparation. So the guys that are the 12th men are generally there as a support. So that's why I was catching out in the middle. And I see Mickey Arthur, who was our coach at the time, coming running from the nets into the middle, basically telling me, listen, I need to go get ready, padded up. Ashwell got hit in the net, in the finger. We're not sure what's going to happen with him. You need to prepare like you're possibly going to play. And all of a sudden, like my heart rate literally went from 70 or 80 to 180, like in 5 seconds. Anyway, went into the nets, batted and so forth. But at no point during that evening was it confirmed that I was going to play, because they wanted to give Ashwell the best opportunity to see how it's going to play up his finger, that is, the next day and so forth. Anyway, the night went on, didn't really sleep very well. The next morning, about 6 a.m., I get a message from Ashwell saying, listen, it doesn't look good. So if I get an opportunity, he just wants to wish me well, know that I'm ready, I'm good enough for this opportunity and so forth, which was great because, like I told you earlier, Ashwell was somebody that was a mentor to me as a young player. And here I was now coming in his position necessarily. And that was his take on it. You know, he wanted to see me flourish and do well. But it was only literally till an hour before the start of play that it was confirmed, because they gave Ashwell an injection just before, like during the warm-ups, to numb it and to see whether he could hit some balls and how did that feel. And unfortunately, it didn't work out. So, yeah, an hour before, Graham Smith came to me and says, right, you're playing. And yeah, that was the experience. Went and did the anthems, great moment, packed crowd at the Wacker. First innings experience wasn't a great one. Bounced out by Mitchell Johnson. I think he took like 8 for 70 in his first innings or something. Yeah, he bounced quite a few of us out. Anyway, we needed to then chase 414 to win the game in the fourth innings, and it was a great start by Graham. I think Graham might have got 100. Neil McKenzie was the opening batter. Jacques Hullis maybe got 70. And then I walked out to bat on day 5 with 100 runs to win. And we were 4 down, obviously me batting number 6. And I obviously passed Jacques Hullis as he came out, and he just murmured to me, go make history. And that was a pivotal moment. And obviously, AB de Villiers was out in the middle, having played with AB under 19, and we were very good mates. It was just a extraordinary experience, you know. And I remember Andrew Simons from Australia. He met me about halfway on the field, and he's a massive guy, like in stature, right? And he walked next to me all the way from about halfway on the field, all the way to the wicket. But he didn't say a word. He just walked next to me and looked. And I mean, I was so intimidated by that, because here's this guy like 6'5" walking next to me. But anyway, we came in the middle together, and I remember AB just telling me, hey man, we got nothing to lose here. We're 2 youngsters up against the Aussies. Let's go out and enjoy this moment. And we got bounced, we got yorked, we got spoken to, but somehow we got through it, you know, and we put together this 100-run partnership. And fortunately, I had the opportunity to hit the winning runs against Mitchell Johnson, which then also got me to 50 not out. So it was a memorable experience, one that I'll never forget.
That innings must, you know, you talk about the adversity you faced. That is a coming of age innings. You must have taken, I mean, your teammates must have had confidence in you now that this lad, he's not just a bright hope, he's got it. And you must have personally felt like, I'm ready for this now.
Yeah, I mean, yes, there's always going to be that sort of fear and doubt, because you're coming up against such a formidable side. But because of where we were as a test side, there was definitely this sort of underlying confidence and belief in who we were. The culture was really going in the right direction. The team was really performing well. There was a trust in one another's ability and talents, and belief that whoever was out in the middle could do the job for the team. And even though I was on my debut, AB was only playing for about 2-3 years and was still young in itself, there was this belief that these 2 guys can get us over the line. And you know, fortunately we did so. AB scored 100, I got a 50. It was just, like I said, a memorable experience. One that both of us, and I think all of us, will never forget. And seeing the joy in the change room afterwards, and the appreciation for the work that you did, you know, from the senior guys that you looked up to for so many years, to appreciate your performance was really awesome.
Sounds like an unbelievable moment. And the reason I say it must have matured you and made you believe that you were belonged at that level is because of what you did in the next test match. You found yourself probably under pressure again in the next test because you found a partner, a very strange partner that most people wouldn't have, put down that, JP Duminy and Dale Steyn are going to come to the crease, put on a 180 partnership and you scored 166. Like that's it's so early in your test career, first two tests. That was unbelievable start that you had, and obviously it led to what was going to become a memorable historical test series victory for South Africa and Australia after 16 years. How you must have been seeing the ball like a football that day.
And again, it was an experience where I wasn't actually sure whether I was going to play in that second test, because I just thought, well, I'm replacing Ashwell. I mean, he was at the top of his game as well. And I just thought he would come back in, not knowing the full extent of his injury, because there was still a sort of belief that he might come in and play the second test. And eventually the day before, again, they tried to see whether he was going to be fit enough, and it didn't work out. And I just continued this mindset of, well, I'm just going to try and give my best for this side with this opportunity, because I always believed that Ashwell was going to come back. And yeah, we just found ourselves in all sorts of trouble, 5 down pretty early. Who was it? I think it was Paul Harris that also scored about 30 odd. We got maybe about a 50-run partnership at the back end there. And then myself and Dale, I mean, I can't explain to you how crazy it was for us to put that partnership together. Fortunately, and I say fortunately, Brett Lee got injured. So they only had, I think it was Peter Siddle who was on his debut. And then there was Mitchell Johnson, obviously. So they ended up having to use Mike Hussey as their third seamer as well as their spinner. Because generally, if you think historically how Australia shaped their bowling attack, was always 3 seamers and a spinner. That's just how things worked out. And then, Brett Lee got injured. He broke his toe. So it was a subdued bowling attack, but still a formidable one, where Peter Siddle was on debut and he was bowling close up to 150. And a few things went our way, a few drop catches, which played in our favor. But again, there was just this amazing aura around the experience of playing at the MCG. Day one, we bowled first, and there was close to 80,000 people. It was a deafening noise, and the experience of it as a 24-year-old is unbelievable. And when I came to the crease, people speak of in the zone moments. That was definitely one of it, where even though the bowlers were bowling 145 plus, it felt like it was 130. I just felt like I had so much time. It felt like this pitch was so long that he's bowling from 40 yards. It's a weird experience. And then, just the partnership grew. And the constant conversation that we had during breaks was, let's just try and see how close we can get to their score. And that was the target, particularly like overnight as well. Day 2, we had a conversation before, and let's try and get as close as we can. Even if we're 80 runs short of their score, we're still in the game. And in the end, I think we were over 100 runs ahead of them because of the partnership we put together. And yeah, we broke the back of them. And in the end, I think we needed to score 180 to win the game. And we got it with 1 wicket down, which such a great moment in South African cricket history, where no team has gone to Australia and beaten Australia in the Test series. And that year was just truly special.
And this was all under, would have been under Graham Smith's captaincy that period of time.
Yep.
It was a formidable time. I mean, I remember when he got the captaincy at a very young age, there was a lot of doubters out. But what he did as a leader for South Africa through those years was incredible. I'm going to leapfrog forward a little bit now. Great time of your career. Really interesting to hear your views on it, and taking you back to that headspace. I can only imagine at 6 a.m. when you read Ashwell Prince's text message, what was going through your head. 2011 World Cup is a moment that you experienced in that World Cup where you got out on 99, and sport is all, you know, there's ups, there's downs. How did you feel when you got out in 99?
I think the initial experience of it was disappointment. Yes, I mean a World Cup 100 is something that you don't experience every day. But the context of the game, the context of the situation where we were under pressure, we lost 5 wickets pretty early against Ireland, and obviously there's an expectation of us to beat Ireland quite convincingly. And you know they brought the A game, and so I needed to consolidate and build the partnership. I think it was maybe with Johan Botha, and then we built, and then got to a point where last 10 overs you try and maximize. And even though I was on 99, I knew that, and this has always been my belief, to try and play for the team. What does the team need from me at that point in time? So yes, I guess there could have been get one and then try and hit, or that kind of mindset. But for me, it was never about me. It was about the greater purpose of what the team needed. And you could see the appreciation of the team when I walked back into the change room, playing with that sort of mindset of what does the team need. And that's always something that I encourage young kids with. It's great to have those personal accolades, but ultimately, what do you want to be remembered for? And for me, it was always about being a team man and doing whatever it took to get the team into a strong position. So yes, there was a slight disappointment, but ultimately we got our team into a strong position to win the game, and that's ultimately the most important thing.
I'm going to go to another World Cup, which is a big moment. We don't talk. We've not talked about this, but you're a very handy off spinner, very good in the field as well, but a very underrated off spinner. You know, you bowl really tidy off spin. You took a hat trick in the 2015 World Cup, beat Sri Lanka. Did you ever think when you set out on your merry way to play international cricket that you would have a hat trick under your belt at a World Cup?
Not in a million years, man. No. It's interesting. Like there was a moment there where I didn't even realize that I was on a hat trick because I got a wicket. I think it was Angelo Matthews, the last ball of my over. It could have been my 5th or 6th over, and then obviously took a wicket the very next delivery of my first, or the next over, the first ball. And I was standing at the top of my mark wanting to go, and the umpire actually turned around and says, "This is a hat trick ball." And all of a sudden, hey, things changed. The mindset changed. Can I get a silly middle fin and a short leg and a slip? And, all of a sudden the mindset changes. And then fortunately, I don't know, I forget who the batter was.
I think it was Angelo. Was it Angelo Matthews you got your hat trick on?
He was the first wicket in that.
Oh, he was the first one, okay.
I forget who the last one was. But then fortunately, they played for the turn and it didn't turn. And it went on straight, and at LBW, oh man, I jumped so high into the air. I could not believe what had just happened. A World Cup hat trick. And it was just a formidable day because that was the first time really in World Cups that we had won a playoff game. So that was the quarterfinal in Sydney, I think it was. And we had this history of losing games in playoffs. And I know we're going to speak a little bit about that as well.
Yep.
But this was now the first time that we had actually taken a step in the right direction. We had won a quarterfinal. And that was a joyous occasion for us. I think we needed to score like 180 to win. We bowled them out quite cheaply. And we did it. We did it with a lot of confidence and conviction. I think Quinton de Kock played nicely in that quarterfinal to get us over the line.
Who would have thought JP Duminy's bowling takes his country to the next round? I'm not surprised. Like I said, you're very underrated off spinner. Also in that World Cup, another outstanding performance. Very good player, this guy. Like he's a serious player as well. Yourself and David Miller hit a 256-run partnership to break a previous record. I think it was for the 5th wicket, maybe. Both must be very proud of that. Both of you, that partnership.
Yeah, again, a situation where we lost wickets pretty early, and we had selected our side where I was actually the fifth bowler. Well, when I say fifth bowler, between myself and Farhan Behardien. So I ended up batting 7. That was the strategy mainly within the World Cup. Was they wanted to our strategy was to try and lengthen our batting, and I was sort of positioned where I could bat with the sort of lower order. Now, and then that ended up being number 7. And we lost 5 quick wickets, Farhan batting at number 6 and David batting at 5. And yeah, we ended up really needing to consolidate. We played very circumspect in terms of that initial period, because there was a little bit in the wicket as well. We played in Hamilton in New Zealand, and there was a little bit of green grass on it. We got put in by Zimbabwe, and they nipped a few wickets early. And yeah, it was a testing time for us, because it was the first game of the World Cup for us. And again, playing against Zimbabwe, huge expectation of us dominating and just pretty much steamrolling them. But it wasn't the case. We needed to work really hard for it. But in the end, that 256-run partnership really set it up for us, where I think we got about 350 in the end. But David Miller, I think I got 115 maybe. He got 140 of like 90 balls. I mean, he smashed it. And the capabilities of him to hit it a long way. So, yeah, again, one of those moments in my career that really stands out. And it's the moments where you were placed in a position of difficulty and needing to really dig your heels in and show your mettle and the mental capacity to get through a tough period, and then obviously kick on at the end. So those moments definitely stand out.
Class. The dreaded question, Mr. Duminy, that I'm sure you've been asked many times before. Many South Africans, I'm sure, have been asked it over the years. This all goes all the way back to I've been watching South Africa since 1992, where the heartbreak started. Unfortunately, I still don't get my head around what went down that day. Needed 22 off 13, all of a sudden 22 off 7, and then it was 22 off 1 ball. Sounds dodgy to me. But then that bad luck just followed you guys. I remember Tom Pollock maybe not calculating well. Boucher didn't get the run. Herschel Gibbs dropping Steve Waugh in the 99 World Cup. Even up until recently, Grant Elliott, your colleague currently, broke South African hearts.
And he's a South African as well.
Yeah, he's South African as well. Another one that's fallen. If they could, I actually tweeted this the other day. If they could bring a squad together for the last 15 years of all the South Africans that have left as well and went to play for other countries, bloody hell, it would be it's already some team, but how many players slipped through the net? What's the issue? Why are South Africa in these critical moments not getting over the line?
It's such a great question, and I still don't have the answer.
You and I'm sure many. I mean,
we all do, and there will be various speculations about it. I look at it and I think to myself, well, yes, there's a few things that didn't go our way. So you think about 92. I mean, you were speaking about it now. It just doesn't add up. How does that work out, right? And then a pivotal moment in 99 World Cup, and Herschel Gibbs with his trendy self, trying to throw the ball over his shoulder and drops pretty much the World Cup. And, you think of that scenario. I mean, that was just the moment that changed the game for South Africa. 2003, calculation. 2007, played a different brand of cricket all of a sudden, in a semi-final against Australia, where we tried to play completely opposite to what has brought us success. 2011 again came up short. 2015, where I thought was a moment, and again, obviously I was part of it, but I thought this was probably a game where we really competed well. Again, a few things didn't go our way. Rain came, and all of a sudden we were on such an upward curve in terms of momentum. AB and David Miller were really smashing New Zealand all over the park, and rain came, and then obviously Duckworth Lewis came in, and they needed 240 or whatever it was in 40 overs or something. But I think about the upward curve we were going with, and there was easily a 350 on the go there. But yes, we just haven't managed to come out on top in those critical moments. And if somebody has the answer to that, I would love to know what that is. I mean, there would be speculation that we don't have the mental capacity, that we choke under pressure, and those words have been thrown around. And we've needed to accept that and take hold and I guess take responsibility for that tag of chokers, because ultimately we did choke. And the only way that South Africa would really get rid of it is when we get over the line. And I think now we're sort of in a transitional period of trying to understand who we are again, from a cultural point of view, from a team perspective, a lot of new guys, a lot of new faces. But I believe that we're going to compete. I truly believe that. And we just need to compete and give ourselves a chance. And there's no guarantees in life. There's no guarantees that we're going to get over the line. But there's a belief. I certainly believe that one day we will. And when that time is, we'll have to wait and see. And it's not a case of when that time happens that you think back, why couldn't it be me? No, for me, it's about trying to find the joy in that moment, that we are all South Africans and we are all part of a rich history and heritage of South Africa, diverse culture, diverse background, of a challenging background, that we have come together to really showcase our talents as a diverse nation. And we've done it in rugby 3 times, and we've seen what it can do to a country, to unify a country. And hopefully cricket has an opportunity one day to do the same.
I hope so. I hope so, because 99, for instance, I had said, I mean, along with Pakistan, I've seen those 2 countries in that World Cup as the powerhouses. But maybe it'll be now this time round that maybe the expectation won't quite be as high, because you don't have the AB de Villiers, you don't have the Jack Callises, you don't have the Alan Donalds, and maybe the togetherness and the team come together and get it right mentally, and they get over the line. I would love to see it, because South African cricket has always been I've always been a big fan of South African cricket, as many people are. So yeah, hopefully we'll see that in our lifetime, mate. South Africa get over the line and get this monkey off the back.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of your international career. You went on to play in another World Cup, 2019. That was your last World Cup, and you retired from international cricket after that. I'll come back to that, because before we get there, I want to touch on your kind of T20 franchise cricket. Joined the IPL in 2009. Your bank balance improved significantly. The Mumbai Indians signed you for a nice $950K. I'm sure you were smiling that day, JP. You went on to play also for Sunrise Hyderabad, Declan Chargers, Delhi Daredevils. How were those years playing in this new exciting franchise?
It was a transitional time in cricket, where here you were in a franchise setup, but playing with the guys that you played against almost all the time from an international perspective. And it was so enjoyable, where you got to learn from some of the greats. I think back to my very first IPL experience, playing for Mumbai Indians, and all of a sudden I'm walking out to bat for the very first game with Sachin Tendulkar. I mean, as a 24-year-old kid, where does that happen,
Yeah.
And playing with Jai Surya, Zaire Khan, Harbhajan Singh, all these guys, and Sean Pollock as my coach. It was a weird experience, but such an enjoyable one. We didn't have a great year, but the very next year we lost in the final. But again, such a unique experience. And yes, the money factor was huge, but just the ability to learn about the game, with some of the greats was such a huge privilege. And then went on to play for Declan Chargers, where Sangakkara was our captain. And I mean, his record speaks for itself in terms of the quality of player he is, but just what a great human being. Love spending time with him off the field and just learning from him about the game, but just in life, And yeah, this is the beauty of, in today's age now, these various tournaments, is you get to have friendships and build relationships with players across the board. You end up playing against Sri Lanka as an example. All of a sudden, I'm going to Sangakkara's house for dinner during a test match. Those things, not saying it didn't ever happen, but, it is happening more frequently now. And that's the beauty of the game. You think about the spirit of the game that people often speak about. You think about a gentleman's game that people often speak about. And here was a great opportunity for these concepts and ideas to come to the fore, where you could really just play hard on the field, but really build relationships, strong relationships off the field. And that was probably the most enjoyable experience of IPL and many franchise tournaments around the world.
Do you think it improved you as an international cricketer?
100%. 100%. And to add to that, I think just your overall experience of what cricket is and what it should be, that it's a vehicle, yes, to play cricket and play your sport, and showcase your talents, but it's a vehicle to experience different things in life. I mean, you go and travel through different parts of the world and you experience different cultures, you experience different relationships through it. And that, for me, is the main takeaway. Yes, there are great moments on the field, but the standouts, and for me, this is a majority view, the standouts and what you take away from it is the relationships that you build.
Awesome. Very nice to see you announce yourself. I've got Pakistani background in me, so my dad is from Pakistan. So I've been over to Pakistan many times, experienced cricket over there. We all know what the fever's like for it. At the moment, you're not in Pakistan. It's been played in Abu Dhabi, I believe. But you led Islamabad United in 2018 to the title. Must have been a very proud moment for you.
It was. I mean, what's his name now? Who was our captain? Misbah was actually the captain. So unfortunately, he got injured the last game of the round robin phase, and I was appointed vice captain at the start of the tournament, and then got the privilege to captain the side in the playoffs and then the final, which was pretty awesome because with all that has happened in Pakistan, so the majority of the tournament was in the UAE, but the playoff leg went back to Pakistan in 2018, and we made it through to the final because we ended up top of the log, and I got to captain the team in Karachi in the final, and it was such a great occasion where, yes, it was about the cricket, but it's also about everything around it, right? So there was a sort of presentation, opening ceremony type thing that took place, and obviously Karachi was the venue and stadium packed, and there was a stage on the field before the game, and myself and Darren Sammy, who was the captain of Zalmi in the final.
One of my previous guests, good friend, good man,
Oh,
Darren
is he?
Sammy. Yeah, top man.
Okay, awesome. But just the fact that, I could speak to the crowd, and as a captain, I mean, that was a major moment in my career. And to tell them what a privilege it was to, one, lead the team, but also to be there and to be one of the few international cricketers that has come back, into Pakistan because of the past that is unfolded, was quite a huge thing for them. And you could feel their appreciation for the cricket loving communities and crowds that came in to support. And yeah, it was just a great experience of the final and winning the trophy, and another memorable moment in one's career.
I've been hearing from lots of players in the media of the experience of being in Pakistan. and it's all sounding very positive. You know, people
Mm-hmm.
feeling safe, very, very well looked after. The hospitality has been great. Would you echo that?
100%. I mean, the rich culture there of cricket, it goes back to all subcontinent teams really, where cricket is viewed as a religion in many ways. But to share in that experience was great. Such humble people, serving people. The people around the hotel, and they just love cricket so much that they will literally do anything for you. And yes, I mean, there was a lot of security around that time, but the experience itself of the people and being able to play in Karachi was huge.
Love it, love it. This brings you to kind of just before I finish, 2019, you're still showing you've got it. Oh boy, you've still got it in abundance. You were the player of the tournament out in Canada, where I believe there was quite a few Scottish players actually played in that, might have played in that tournament as well. But what are you doing retiring? You're clearly still you're still hitting them well.
Yeah, just going back to that World Cup, I came into that World Cup having played, I think it was 193 ODIs. And, yes, the thought of playing 200 ODIs for your country, I think I would have been the 8th or 9th South African to do so. A young colored boy from Mitchell's Plain, you think of that opportunity and what that means for the people of the community was huge. And for myself and my family. And I thought to myself, well, there's nine round robin games. Surely I'm going to get there. And in the end, I ended up playing 199 because it just didn't go as I planned. The first 4 games, I didn't perform really well and I got left out. And yes, it was disappointing, but I really saw an opportunity to invest into the team. And I was reminded that even though there was a sort of personal milestone there, it wasn't about me, and it was about serving my team, and I needed to readjust my mindset. So that was a great experience in itself, having not played well, the team not necessarily playing well, but walking away from that with 199 games with such appreciation for the opportunity of 199 games. Having 199 or 200, is it really going to make a big difference in the greater scheme of things in the 15-year journey of international cricket? 325 games, I think it is, across all formats. Just a huge amount of appreciation for the opportunity and the people that have played a part in that journey. Yeah, and then I made the decision to walk away from international cricket. And I had some great success in Canada and CPL. But the transition of not playing international cricket anymore was a tough one. Because I always had this idea and mindset of a greater purpose playing for my country, where I needed to take responsibility of that, to realize that it's beyond just bat and ball. You are viewed as a role model. You are viewed in a certain way by society, and there's a certain responsibility that comes with that. And I really enjoyed it. I flourished in it, I believe, where I knew that this was a gift to be able to really inspire and encourage the next generation, and even just people in general. So not having that purpose anymore, the idea of that purpose, not playing international cricket, I needed to understand, what is my purpose for playing, still to continue to play. And I found it in Canada and CPL, where it was investing into the youngsters of the teams I was playing for, and really guiding them and taking them under my wing, as I was, for instance, like Ashwell, and really trying to walk a journey with them. And that I found a lot of fulfillment and purpose in that, which was enjoyable. And then I had some injury concerns, got injured in CPL, got injured just before the Mzansi, the local T20 comp in South Africa. And then I just felt like there was a transitional phase coming where I was comfortable to walk away. And in itself, then got opportunities for commentary, going into a coaching role now as well, which is exciting. So that's where I'm at now. And yeah, it's still a great opportunity to invest into the game through a different lens. So hopefully I can be as impactful as I was as a player.
Yeah, I'm sure you would take great pleasure in seeing a young JP Duminy coming through, and, having a bit of a part. Like, I'm sure Ashwell will feel that he was part of your progression.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you'll be able to pass that on to many young cricketers come through. You mentioned your
Thanks.
commentary and your punditry. I think you speak, as we've seen on this podcast, you speak extremely well. I've enjoyed
Thank you.
listening to your analysis so far on the PSL. I want to finish. Something else I wanted to ask you that I think is really important as an international cricketer. You have a lovely young family, two daughters. You spend a lot of time away from family as an international and as a franchise cricketer. How is that? How do you cope with that? How do your family cope with that? Because there's a lot of sports people that are in that situation.
Yeah, fortunately, my wife Sue, we met in 2008. But what really worked for us was we made the decision, and I guess we were in a privileged position to be able to do that, where she then left her job that she was busy with at the time, and sort of followed me, if that makes sense. So gave me the best opportunity to fulfill this career. And fortunately, she loved and still loves traveling. She actually misses international cricket more than I do, because she doesn't get to travel anymore. But there were tough times for sure, yes. But fortunately, pretty much every tour my wife traveled with for a period of that tour. And there were times where we didn't see each other for, I think the most we probably went without seeing one another was probably a month and a half. But yeah, wherever I went, she came along, and we knew that was the sacrifice that we needed to make sure that we were good, and our relationship and our marriage was good. And then kids came along in 2015. We had our first daughter, and to date, I think my eldest daughter, who's turning 6 now, 130 odd flights. and she got used to it. That was the lifestyle. She even got to a point where she recognized airlines according to color. She knew where we were going according to the color of the plane, which was quite enjoyable for us as a family. And then we had our second daughter in 2019, and my entire family came to the World Cup. My mom traveled with us as well. And it was really great to be able to enjoy those moments with them. Having them travel with, even though having them there can have its struggles as well, because you feel under pressure to perform, you want your own space. So navigating our way through that had its challenges as a family. And we got to this point, I think it was in 2015, where we recognized, right, we need to set aside blocks of 3 weeks. So my wife doesn't come on tour for longer than 3 weeks, because we're needing to navigate through this idea of me having sufficient time by myself to prepare, to make sure that I'm in a good space, but also making sure that we put effort and time into our relationship. So we worked that out eventually. But life changes once you have kids. Oof. The focus changes, you know. All of a sudden, cricket's not the most important thing. So the mindset shifts, definitely. Scoring a duck and coming back and seeing your 2-year-old, excited to see you, it changes things, So yeah, it was an interesting process to navigate through. And it's changed slightly, I guess, now, where there's still a little bit of travel. I mean, I'm in Abu Dhabi and my family's back home, so I'm away for a month. I guess it would have been different if it wasn't because of COVID. They probably would have come with, or whatever the case may be. But, such is the times that we are facing. So we have to adapt and find our way through it. So, yeah, we're still learning and navigating our way through it.
You sound like you've both done very well. Sound like you've got a great wife who's been a massive support to you through your full career, and now 2 beautiful daughters. So listen, sounds like you're doing a lot right, and I'm sure you'll be looking forward to getting home and seeing them all again soon. I'm going to finish with 3 or 4 quick fire questions. to bring us to the back end. You've been absolutely brilliant to listen to, mate. It's been an
Thank you.
amazing insight. My first question is, who's the best you've played with and the best you've played against?
The best I've played with, probably JP Duminy. I don't even think I need to explain why.
No, I don't think you do. I don't think you do either.
Just-
I have
yeah.
to say this though I was gutted that I felt like when he called it a day. I remember that test match in particular in South Africa where he came out second test and he was batting in a world that is like you've never seen batting like that in Test cricket. You'll need to go a long way to see how dominant he was. But then soon after that, he didn't play in the World Cup. As a fan, it was sad because he seemed to just be getting better by age. What's your thoughts on that? Does it make you sad that we didn't see him play a little bit more in international?
Yeah, I think we all were disappointed to see the caliber and quality of a player such as him not be part of our squad. But we understood, or I certainly understood his reasoning. I think the mental strain, I think was probably the best way to put it, that it took on him to one, live up to the expectations, but also his own expectations. He sets high standards for himself. And I think he just got to a point where he wasn't enjoying it anymore. And so I understood it, and to see him still dominate today, in IPL and the like, just shows the quality that he is and possesses, but still a great friend, still a great teammate over the years, someone who I'll always appreciate and had some amazing times with. So definitely if not the greatest player that I've played with, played against. Interestingly, probably Andrew Flintoff. I found him to be the hardest bowler to play against or to bat against. Just the ability.
He mastered that round the wicket to the left-hander, didn't he?
Oh, yes.
Straightening up on you.
He just came at you consistently around the wicket. And yeah, he just had this aura about him, and particularly when you're playing against him in England, he thrived on the atmosphere of the UK and, wherever you're playing. And, looking back at that, it was quite challenging.
Two good answers. Who was your idol growing up?
Herschel Gibbs and Brian Lara, for different reasons.
I love the Brian Lara. Both amazing. Both amazing. But Brian Lara, same as a left-handed batsman.
Yeah. Yeah. Brian Lara, obviously, because he's left and he was arguably the world's best at the time. Herschel Gibbs was a childhood hero of mine because it was a joy to watch. Like it was so easy on the eye. To see him hit sixes over cover off the back foot. You don't get many players that can do that. And he did it with ease. And I used to go and watch provincial cricket when I was younger at Newlands. And obviously then it was packed stadiums and even for domestic cricket. And he just looked a different league when he batted against domestic players. I remember fondly a partnership between him and Gary Kirsten against Eastern Province, and it was a high-quality bowling attack. And they just did it with absolute ease. It's almost like they were having a game against one another who can hit the ball the furthest. And I got to meet him on my 15th birthday as a surprise for my birthday. My dad had arranged it, so that was a fun memory as well.
I hope he didn't take you to Lamed that night on a Sunday night, because that's where I bumped into him a few times on my travels at Cape Town. He liked the Sunday night down there, Herschel. He's a great character. Where's your favourite country to tour?
New Zealand and the Caribbean, for different reasons. New Zealand is just a picturesque country. And it's a country where it has a rich history of cricket, yes, but you can actually just walk in the street normally and nobody will really notice you. So I love that about it. And great people in New Zealand. The Caribbean, I guess it's the obvious one, just the beaches. Again, a great history and heritage, playing at the various stadiums, some of the greats of the game. in the 20th century coming through there, and yeah, getting to meet some of them as well. Phil Richards being one of them. Yeah, just an amazing experience.
Last question. I always ask high-level people like you that have played the game at the top level. What's your advice to any young boys or girls out there looking to make cricket their career and go on to achieve some of the things that you have? What would be your advice to them?
It will be slightly different in, I guess, the norm of, work hard, just commit everything to it. So why I say different is, I guess I've realized in particularly the last 5 years of my career, that being a professional sportsman or cricket, it goes so much further than just performances. And I got the best bit of advice from one of my favorite coaches years ago. And he said to me, cricket is not my life, it is a part of my life. It is a big part of my life, but it's not the main thing in my life. You know what I mean? So, and why I say that is because if cricket is everything to us, and our lives are consumed by it, our lives are going to be a roller coaster, because that's how your career goes. If you're only going to be happy when you're performing, it's going to be a tough journey. So my advice would be, you give your all to everything that you want to do in terms of cricket. So I'm talking about your training, your commitment, your sacrifice. You give your all, but at the end of the day, we have to understand that we don't have a lot of control over outcomes. We have control over our preparation, our commitment, our attitudes, and those are all tangible things that we can commit to. But when it comes to outcomes, there's a lot of uncontrollables. So surrender that, and understand that there's a higher calling to our lives than just you're playing a game of cricket. I think of myself as playing a game of cricket, but what's the higher calling for me is to encourage the youth. It is to empower youth through a calling or gifting that I've been granted in my life. And I believe that there's a greater things to come in post cricket. Because I think that the greatest fulfillment is when we're serving others. And if we can have a mindset like that at a young age, I think we'll find more joy in playing the game. That it's not just about performance, because performances come and go. We have to understand that there needs to be a greater calling than just what we do on the field.
I think that might be the best answer I've got yet, JP, when I've asked that question. I really love the part you're saying about enjoying other people's success. I think that's something that youngsters should be encouraged, but I think they're so determined to be the best, which is good.
Yeah.
But they maybe lose sight of enjoying others' success as well, because ultimately it'll bring you, good vibes, good success as well. But it's been a great insight, mate. It's been from the boy that I met, 17-year-old little pup, back in Newlands Nets at South Africa, to where you've gotten to now is excellent. I wish you all the very best in your commentary punditry career, and I'll be looking out to see what you do in the coaching world. I'm sure you'll do lots of great things. I would like to hang on for 2 minutes, but thank you very, very much for your time today.
Pleasure, man. Thank you.